Ed Gamble, Glutton, The Multi-Course Life of a Very Greedy Boy. It is a memoir and it isn't a memoir. Discuss.
Yes, it's not really a memoir because I thought about my life and I was like, maybe not enough has happened in my life yet to do a proper memoir, but I love food and I can connect everything in my life that's happened with food. So it's sort of, it's a memoir, food memoir. Someone described it as a yumoir the other day. Which
I like a yumoir.
Yeah,
take a yumoir, take it.
No, I detest that phrase. I've
You
decided.
detest it?
Yeah, yumoir. What it just
great.
makes me feel a bit weird.
I think you should
love it
own
too.
it.
Yeah.
Yumoir.
Are we going with the yumoir?
It's a bit of a fanwar as well because you're a fan of food.
Yeah.
It's a fanwar. It's a yum. It's all the what? The wars, the R's, the wars.
Yumoir is weird.
I'm
I
all
don't
right
like
with
how
yumoir.
it comes out.
Yeah.
It's a bit gummy. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
It's a bit false teethy.
Yumoir.
Yumoir. So you talk about, there's loads of quotes that I pulled out here. One is, you will always, even though you're thinner now much thinner than you used to be, you will always have a fat man brain.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Just the way I react to food when food's around is always exactly the same as I ever reacted to food. I want to eat all of it. I panic when I'm in places that I've not ordered enough and that I'll never go back to that place, even if it's somewhere that I go regularly. I'm like, I have to order all of it now and eat all of it now. And it's that sort of that instinct that I always used to have when I was bigger as well. Fat man brain. Yeah,
and the identity of you, various people in various guises in the book, it's really great how you can spot a how you can spot a B,
yes,
and how you can spot a foodie or a fat man or a fat person's brain at a buffet.
Yeah,
it's always the hovering, it's the listening with ears but not with eyes. He does it all the time. It's one of the things I noticed about Vassos when we first ever went out. I thought, he's not listening to me now because we were by a buffet.
Oh yeah, it's very difficult, isn't it?
Come close to the microphone, Vassos.
Very difficult. If there's is there anything better in the world, Ed, than a hotel breakfast buffet?
Love a hotel breakfast buffet. There's huge mistakes they can make, though, I think, but I still really like it. Actually, regardless of quality sometimes as well, because it's just all quantity.
It's just there for you.
It's just there.
You can go as often as you want.
Yeah.
You can put as much as you want on your plate.
You can ignore as many people who are trying to talk to you as you like over breakfast, over dinner.
I glaze over when
you
there's a buffet.
have a very similar journey to Ed, don't you?
Yeah.
Size-wise. Do you want to have a little...
And actually, you took up running relatively late. I also took up running relatively late. And I did because I noticed a little flop of fat over my belt one day when I was coming back from golf, which is about as much exercise as I ever did. And I thought, maybe I have to stop eating everything I like or start running or just get fat. And I thought, well, I'll see what all the fuss is about. And I loved it sooner than you did, and I didn't have such a dramatic first run.
Is there a question at any point here?
As you did. But you're
It's an interview. This is why I did the Arnie interview. This is why I just did it on my own.
Yes. So, do you want to talk about your first run, or do you think that's it's not appropriate?
It's mostly about you, just so you know.
You said you have a very similar journey to Ed's.
Yes, which was a polite way of saying, can you ask him a question that you can both pertain to?
Well, that's what I was doing. I was in the middle of that.
Okay.
It was quite a long question. But I felt it was on the way.
I thought it was too, Ed. Yeah, thank you. It was interrupted.
I'm not sure there was a question anywhere to be found.
No, you know better than I do.
What was the question again?
Do you want to talk about your first run and your journey
into
starting to run?
And also, at the end of all that was the question.
It is a good question, though, because the answer's spectacular.
It's a good question. Now we've got it, and it's only 9:37. Ed, back to you.
Yes, the first time I ever went for a run, I think my body went into shock because I'd never really exercised properly before, and it reacted accordingly. I didn't quite know how to. There was an event when I went for my first run, and I had to go to a public convenience and ditch my undergarments.
And then risk many sort of potential embarrassing moments. Even though you'd already had the ultimate embarrassing moment, what you then do is you quantify in your brain, well, this could be less embarrassing. Not really, to be honest.
Yeah. And then, you have to work out what you're going to do next. It's the...
and never go back there again.
And never go back to that place again where you've have to discard your...
Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult to know what to say on the radio, I think people are getting it.
Well, we talk about wild wheeze and wild other things because as you run more, it usually doesn't happen the first time, does it? Bizarrely, the more you run, the more it happens, because you usually end up running longer.
Yes.
And then you have gels and things, and it becomes part. I mean, Paula Radcliffe.
Yeah.
On telly,
course.
live on telly. And now everybody definitely knows what we're talking about.
It's like a rite of,
I did a Radcliffe.
a rite of passage. A rite of... Yes.
Yes. Oh, dear me. Go on, Sinead, pile in.
Oh my God, I've got so many. Firstly, you say, right, the front cover of the book, you are surrounded by food.
Yes.
Did you eat any of this then?
I did eat some of it, but also we managed to actually give all of that food away after we did the shoot as well, which is good.
But was it hard, like having all that food around, like considering you saying like you just love like eating?
It was tricky, and I did have a little bit of it, but after a certain time when it's all sat there for ages, all the smells mixed together, it was sort of gross by the end. I didn't want any of it because I'd just been looking at it all day. If you put your head in the middle of something for ages, you don't really want to eat it.
But you do. I mean, you love your food. But not only do you love your food, because you talk about people who see food as fuel, and you come up with other phrases, don't you?
Yeah. The fuelers and the pill people, the people who say, "Oh, if food was a pill, I'd eat it," and I can't bear those. But I just don't understand it. I'm sort of jealous of them in a way because they must get so much more done.
I am jealous of them.
Yeah.
Because the point is, it's like any addiction, isn't it? It's not about when you're doing it, really.
Yeah.
Because when you're not doing it, you're just thinking about when you're going to do it next.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then when you've done it, you're guilty that you've done it.
Sure.
And so actually you might as well be doing it all the time, because they talk about it when people are alcoholic and they give up alcohol, they say you can still have a wet brain because you're just thinking about it all the time.
Yeah.
It's not dissimilar.
Not dissimilar, but yeah, also food's a tricky one because you do need to have some food.
Yeah, I know.
So you've got to have it. So you may as well make it nice, I think, and just really, really throw yourself into it. But it does play on your mind quite a lot.
And the most interesting part of your journey is the fact that you have had massive issues with food and being massive because of food. And that's all in the book. I hope you don't mind me saying that, but it's all in there. A couple of chapters on it, isn't there? You're diabetic, type 1 diabetic. And now you work as a permanent judge on a food show.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, it's extraordinary if you think about it.
Yeah, I think there was just a real transformation from how I treated food. So I used to just like binge eat and eat whatever and the most unhealthy stuff. And then when I lost weight, that's when I got really passionate about food, because I started to think about the quality of it and how it's all put together and trying to find the best versions of the food that I like. You know, I still love burgers, but I was like, I'm not just going to grab a random burger. I'm gonna Google the best burgers in London and go and work my way through the list. And
become obsessed with it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And isn't it interesting about that and addictions? I wonder if that's what a lot of them are about. About the fact that I really want to love this, but I don't like myself enough to love it sustainably. But I can't stop my love for it, so I'll binge on it, whatever it may be, whether it's food or whatever it is. And it's a disrespect to yourself, but it's not the fact that you need to stop doing it. You just have to do it in a way that's more palatable and a way that you deserve.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it is your passion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because in that little list of things, I missed out off menu, which is your podcast, and you're on tour, so that you food everywhere.
Food everywhere. I've made it, a massive part of my career.
Right. So what's the secret? It says in the book. Yeah. What's your secret?
Yeah, I got that all the time when I'd lost weight, but obviously there's no secret. People get really annoyed. It's the thing that everyone says, which is I just ate a little bit less and moved more, and people look really disappointed with that.
So why can't everyone do that? Because there must be something more, because not everybody can do that.
Yeah, I mean, look, everyone's genetics are different as well, and people have different opportunities in terms of eating better and being able to move more, right? So I was just very lucky that I was in a position where I could do that.
Here's the thing. Just press pause for a second.
Yeah.
If that is the case, and it is the case, because I read the book and I believe you, why would you not be telling the truth?
Secret.
Isn't it interesting, though, that there was a point before that where that wasn't your mindset? So I suppose the more sort of forensic question is, what happened that made you able to have one relationship with food that was much more positive, sustainable, healthy, really healthy, and lucrative in the end, from one that was completely abusive and destructive?
Well, I guess there's psychological barriers up in the way, and also I didn't think I had any willpower, so I would just be like, well, I'm not going to exercise because I'm not. That's not me. I'm not that guy. And also, I made I made a lot of hay out of making fun of those people who exercise, so I was almost embarrassed to be a bit of a hypocrite at that point. But once I started trying it and realising that I didn't need to eat, 5 sandwiches for lunch and that I could get through the day on a normal diet, then it all sort of went from there, really.
That was always the case, though. So what happened? What was the moment?
Well, in the book I say, because this was the first moment I tried to lose weight, I got booked on a TV show. And I thought, hey, let's see if I can just, even if it's not for aesthetic purposes, just for sort of feeling a bit fresher.
This is Russell Howard's show.
Yeah.
And he's particularly lithe. So he's not great context, is he?
Yeah.
But Russell used to be bigger.
Yeah, I know.
Back in the day. And now he's like mega ripped.
Yeah.
Now he's like unattainably ripped.
He's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He would give Arnie a run for his money back in the day.
Yeah. Arnie again. We were doing so well.
I just have to keep bringing it back to make sure that it was real and it really did
Yes,
happen.
yeah, you're
and
not
not
dreaming,
that you're
Chris.
disappointing guest.
No, but come on, Arnie.
Yeah.
I think I'm just jealous because we were talking to his team about having him on off menu and it never happened. So yeah.
There's other lines of inquiry to do with the time in your life when you began to think about doing something more positive with regards to your relationship with food. And people saying, well, that just happens to be the time when you met your partner. Mm-hmm. That's all in there as well, isn't
yes.
it?
Yeah. I mean, I met my wife when I was at in a bigger body, basically, and a lot of people seem to. Well, what I got a lot from people was like, "Oh yeah, she's lucked out. She made a good investment," as if she'd seen something in me where she was like, "Look, he's pretty big now, but I reckon if I stick with him." It's like she'd bought a broken down house. That's not how it works. She loved me then and she loves me now, which is great. So I found a good one.
And you talk about the fact that it's funny, isn't it? Because if you don't look after yourself in one way, it's not perceived as being attractive necessarily. But if you don't look after yourself in another way, like if you're a bit grimy and a bit cool, then that makes you sexier.
Yes.
And you say, hang on a minute, what's the difference between that and being a bigger guy? I'm still not looking after myself. Where's my attractiveness?
Yeah, that was back in the time of when indie sleaze was very big, but they were all skinny, weren't they? So they weren't looking after themselves. They weren't having a.
I suppose so. You talk about your type 1 diabetes and you talk about the bumps in the road that you then righted in your act.
Yes.
I love that bit of the book.
Yeah.
And it's really cool that you address that. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But you didn't have to.
Yeah, I think people get defensive. Comedians get defensive sometimes about writing jokes and then people contacting them and saying, that's probably not right, that joke, and that it's probably a bit upsetting for this reason. It's not factually correct. People get a bit like, well, I can talk about whatever I want. Sometimes it's much easier and nicer to go,
hike it out.
Oh, okay, I won't talk about that. I'll listen to you and realise it's probably best to change that.
Yeah. The fact the diagnosis of your type 1 diabetes was very much down to your mum.
Yes, because my mum used to be a nurse, so she spotted all of the signs and took me off to the GP.
See, this is where it does get a bit memoiry.
Yeah. There's bits in there.
There's lots
in there. There's memoiry bits in there.
I think it's interesting. It's like it's a sort of a tiptoeing between.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a bit of fun here. I'll tell you this about myself.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I want to go, because you said before, as you were talking, I wasn't going to say it straight away, but you did say, I've not really lived a life. That's BS, man. Of course you have.
Well,
you just didn't want to.
Yeah, I think the idea of a memoir to me, me writing a memoir is faintly embarrassing, personally. So I was like, at least we can hook it onto food and create this yumoir.
Yeah, but what's interesting is obviously, clearly in the writing, you did fall in love with a bit of your life that you did want to talk about.
Yeah.
And what I found really interesting about the bit about your mum was the fact that I think you wanted to say thank you to her in print.
Yes, absolutely.
Isn't it interesting?
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I did because, she's absolutely amazing. And, even with the diabetic stuff, she's just so supportive. And yeah, she's coming we're doing an event at the South Bank tonight, an interview, and she's coming to that. So I think she'll enjoy that.
And what's another... It's really fascinating, this book. I think when it gets real, that's when it gets me. I love the funny stuff, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I love, where I'm going with all this stuff now.
Yeah.
So the whole thing about you, desserts and cheese, really funny, right?
Yeah.
Extremely funny. If you've got room for dessert, you've not tried hard enough in the mains.
Yes.
That's what you say, isn't it?
Completely believe that.
I totally believe that. And if you are going to have a dessert, have it as a starter.
Yeah.
Right? I've done that. Have you ever done that?
I've never
done
that.
Oh, mate, that is so funny. That's so funny. Have you ever ordered the same meal twice straight off the bat? I've done that a few times.
I've done a lot of like double ordering and just getting one dessert and then going another.
Have you ever done that with the main course?
Never done that with the main course.
I've done that with a few pastas in my time.
Have you?
So yeah, when you get a really amazing pasta, because really amazing pasta, if you don't make it yourself or you don't have it in Italy up a mountain, costs the more basic the dish is, it costs an absolute fortune. So if you go to Ciccone's in London for what looks like a sort of something that Mama would make, quite rightly, which doesn't look that sophisticated at all, will be 40 quid for a plate of pasta. But it's absolutely, it looks brown, it looks beige, it looks like the most uninviting food in the world, but it's absolutely gorgeous. And you go, can I have another one of those, please? Yeah, can I get anything else? Yeah, can I have that again? That's the best one. Anyway, back to dessert. So we'll get onto cheese in a minute because I know you love cheese. So desserts, sometimes on the Great British Menu, you have to have 8 desserts at a time.
Yes.
So you have to insulin it right up.
Yeah.
What's that procedure like?
Well, it's just, I've learned over the years, you pick up tips all the time as a type 1 diabetic. It's just little injections all day, just trying to stay on top of the blood glucose levels.
Yeah.
Inevitably, things go wrong. But I learned a few years ago, you can't expect perfection being a type 1 diabetic. Things are going to change all of the time. Although I say that as if like it's just a normal day eating 8 desserts and you just can't expect perfection. You definitely can't if you're eating 8 desserts in a day.
What I found really funny was sometimes you over insulin.
Yeah.
So you have to have more desserts than you were intended to have in the first place.
I end up eating like sweets and they're
so you have
staring
8
at me
desserts,
going,
like, I've not had enough sugar, give me some more. The crew go, what? You've just eaten 8 desserts, man. That's funny. Yeah,
people still can't wrap their heads around that in between I'm having sweeties.
Do you think being bigger as a kid and at school, and you talk about the fact that you ended up being the funny guy, do you think in turn that it made you funnier, in which case you've got this career now? Do you think that was sort of the start of it all?
Yeah, I think so. I think I was a naturally funny kid anyway, but the fact that I was bigger gave me something to sort of hook it on, and I lent into that role, that social role at school for sure. And yeah, I don't know if I would have been a comedian had I just been a sort of normal-sized kid at school, like an averagely sized kid, because I wouldn't have had to play anything up. I wouldn't have been that guy. Yeah. So I think it's probably helped, to be honest.
Yeah, drinking at school is an interesting section.
Yes.
Went well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent work. Yeah. And Vassos is fascinated by the Statue of Liberty.
Well, the Statue of Liberty Zambuca game.
Yes.
Nobody told me about this when I was at the prime age to play it.
None of his family staff told him about this.
I also thought,
how dare they?
I thought that I was an advertiser's dream until I read about you and the voice-activated water pistol.
Yeah, I mean that. This was a way of illustrating the fact of an advertiser's dream, like you say. I just thought about this thing so much. There was a water pistol. I don't know if any of you remember this.
Nope.
But it's been in my head since I saw that advert and since I bought the thing. You get a little headset and you shout stuff into it and it sprays water out the water pistol attached to your head. Genius.
That is.
Yeah. It's like on St. Patrick's Day and they come around from various whiskey companies and they have what looks like a knapsack on their back, but it's a tanker of whiskey. And they have a pistol, and they literally give you the shots.
Oh yeah, it wasn't quite that. I was just putting water in it.
You talk about the shots, please, don't you as well?
Yeah, shots, people.
Yeah,
people who come and demand you have shots.
Who would do that? Usually tequila.
Is that
you?
Is that you? You're a shots person, Chris.
No idea what you're talking about. I thought I was reading my diary at one point.
Really does.
So you have the flaming Lamborghini. I've got a flaming Ferrari.
I'm so ashamed.
A flaming Ferrari.
I think that might be
That's
the
why
same.
I don't drink anymore.
Although when I had that, I was then sick in the bar I had it in.
Oh, really?
In front of the owner of the bar.
No.
Yeah.
That's like the 8 shots and they set it on fire while you drink
They're
it.
They're setting it on fire as you're drinking it and pouring in more
it's
stuff.
terrible.
Yeah.
I like it. I mean, the whole book's great. I love it when you go into these sort of mini lists of you go off on one, don't you?
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
the beginning of a riff.
There's tangents. There's big tangents in there.
What about? I mean, there's a whole cheesy chapter because it's about cheese.
Yes.
Who does just reading about your cheese? I've got goosebumps, right? Reading your cheese chapter in bed last night. I was like, I've got some cheese this weekend. Did you feel the same thing? I was like, why am I not eating more cheese? Why am I not eating cheese now? Because you've got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I know, but I could still be eating cheese. And then everybody, Ed Gamble's Glutton, the multi-course life of a very greedy boy, worth buying if for just this one reason alone. What's the perfect cheese platter? Cheese board? Another piece of cheese.
Yeah.
Genius.
Just a massive bit of cheese with a bit of cheese on top.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yeah, that works.
Cheesenius.
Cheesenius, yeah. I'm a cheesenius.
Cheesney Hawks. Tell us about your love for cheese. Tell us about your favourite cheese. Tell us about the best cheese in the world. Tell us about your best cheese moment.
I've just always been in love with cheese, and look, this is a big argument we have an off menu all the time. I think a cheese board is a perfectly serviceable dessert, and I look forward to having a cheese board at the end of a meal. Just the absolute variety in cheese as well. But I really like the very like British cheeses, like proper mature cheddar, the sort of cheese that makes you start salivating at the back.
Love it.
Oh, it's so
I love
exciting. But there's amazing cheeses all over the world. There's an amazing Scottish cheese called Minger, which I would highly recommend. There's so many great things.
There's a great cheese shop. There's a fromagerie around the corner here in Borough
Nice.
Market. Have you ever seen it?
No.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. It's a Victorian. It might even be a Georgian shop front. So it looks like it's from A Christmas Carol or something like that. It's stunning, double-fronted, barrelled windows.
Amazing.
And all that you can see, it's there now. We can go after the show, right? And all that's in it is wheels and wheels of parmesan and various things. And you just go, it's like got a magnetic pull to it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm in trouble today.
I just love the smell of walking into a cheese shop as well. It's an amazing smell, but a smell that if you walked into your house and it smelled like that, you'd be really worried.
The thing about cheese is you've got to get it out of the fridge. It's got to be room temperature. It's got to start coming to meet you on the board. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly
it's got
what
to
you
start
mean.
flowing towards you.
Yeah. Especially with things like brie and all of that.
It's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best thing ever. Oh, the cheese chapter. Cheese and wine. You talk about wine quite a lot.
I do talk about wine
Wine's
quite
interesting,
a lot.
isn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
especially when you get a few quid.
Yeah. The problem is, this is another thing. I used to make fun of these people who like wine.
Yeah.
And now it's all creeping up on me. Now I'm like...
These people who, with their wines.
But now I'm that guy. I'm swirling the glass. I'm giving it a sniff. I'm saying I can smell blackcurrants and milk or whatever.
Yeah. Don't you think he's handsome? Isn't he handsome?
Yeah, he's very handsome.
It's in the book. The handsome's in the book, isn't it?
Did you say this to Arnie?
No, of course. You know what I'm referring to. You talk about it in your book.
Yes.
So you lose some weight and people say, oh, he's really handsome.
Yeah.
You go, hang on a minute. Shut up.
Yeah. What were you thinking before? You know, that's the issue.
And then you say, don't you say, people say, well, what's the best thing to say? And the answer is nothing.
It's just I think it's just safer because I got a lot of you're handsome now. I got that, or you look really good now, or you look healthy now, which is insulting in its own way. Or I would get, oh no, you've lost weight. Are you ill? Yeah. You're like, surely there's a midpoint between those two things.
Are